Hi, it's Ian from the Postal Hub podcast.
And Marek from Last Mile Experts.
And we are the Last Mile Prophets. This is the last word on the last mile. Marek, social media can be... it's an unusual beast to try and wrestle, shall we say. And just recently, an Amazon customer posted something on Twitter saying today's stellar service from the grey Amazon van, and included Dave Clark from Amazon, who is, what's Dave's position?
He's Senior VP Worldwide Operations, I believe. He's basically the top guy on anything operational.
So he got tagged in this tweet to do with a bunch of Amazon parcels being left in a public parking garage in San Francisco. And lo and behold, Dave Clark responded saying, "Not good. We will follow up to see what happened. Thanks for telling me." So Marek, what you shared this on LinkedIn with a few comments. What's your comment on this?
First and foremost, look at how long it took. It was next day Dave Clark came back. Now, whether it was actually Dave himself, and I believe it probably was.
I think it is, yeah.
Given the brevity of the message, or one of his minions. But the fact is, Joe Public tweets, one of the most senior people and the most senior operational guy in the company, right straight back. And I'll bet something else. The buck didn't end there. There was a follow-up. And I think this is the amazing thing. These guys are so immensely customer-centric. There will be a follow-up down to the nth degree, and there's going to be probably some VP explaining to Dave what happened, a regional guy explaining to the VP, etc., etc. It's going to go right down. They're going to dive deep. The reality is we don't know, because often you get a picture like this, and was it at peak? You can see the largest box wouldn't even fit in the locker. So in a way, you can't blame the driver for not putting that particular item. It could be that the machine was full and there wasn't a clear instruction. So what did he do to get his stop paid for? He delivered at the point, but not to a machine. Is it right? No.
Can you just mention, Marek, you just mentioned there, you said dive deep. Now, for those of you who have not been to one of our Amazon seminars to understand Amazon, what's called Understanding Amazon means winning in the last mile. What does dive deep mean from an Amazonian perspective?
Well, as anyone who has attended the workshop would be able to tell you, there are 14 management principles. It's like the Bible for Amazonians. And one of them is dive deep. And basically what that is all about is you don't take things at face value. You really drill down to check what is the root cause, crunch the data, etc. Make sure you fully understand why something happened, because understanding is fundamental to improving or eliminating something you don't want to happen.
Now, during the last 12 months, there have been a lot of difficulties in the last mile with capacity and being able to deliver first time, to deliver in a safe way, in a way that is customer centric. And I know just from watching what's happening in Australia, there have been lots of people in Australia tweeting about delivery failures, and that's been replicated all over the world. Is it realistic for a very senior person in every delivery organisation to be taking such a personal interest or responding personally to every mention of their company that's negative or of a delivery failure online?
Yes and no. Yes, if you do it in a clever way, where if that person is on holiday unavailable or so on, someone else does it in his name, in the same way that the president of the US would probably do, or somebody like, or the Queen. So it's got to be seamless from the customer perspective, but I think there should be a mechanism like that, because it does wow you, because you may say, hey, this wasn't cool, but I'll bet that young lady is now saying, my God, isn't Dave Clark amazing? Isn't Amazon amazing? And that's what it's all about. It's not what happens, but how you deal with what happens.
As I mentioned at the outset, social media is a difficult beast to tame. I'm already mixing my metaphors, aren't I? That's not the metaphor I used at the beginning. I've seen some postal CEOs try to engage with customers on social media, and I think it does sometimes impress people that a CEO or a senior person was able to take the time. But I also look at it and thinking, well, hang on a second. There are massive customer teams in posts. So putting Amazon to one side for a moment, if you wanted to complain about, I'll just take Australia Post, you can pick up the phone and ring Australia Post. If you want to complain online, you tag Australia Post and there is a social media team that will deal with complaints. So I'm not expecting you to give us a definitive answer here, Marek, because I don't think there is one. But how can you balance this? The need for also the the desirability to show that every little thing is important to a senior person in a delivery organization versus the fact that you're delivering 1 million parcels a day, 2 million parcels a day, whatever it might be. And it's simply not feasible to have an understanding of that level of granularity to be able to explain why one person didn't get a delivery. In this case, it was a bigger delivery fail than just one parcel, wasn't it? But if you were sitting in the hot seat again, how do you sort of try and balance that?
Ian, in my opinion, it's about what is seen to happen rather than what happens. If there are people who will write directly to Jeff Bezos, Dave Clark, or somebody else, 99% of people will just call the local depot or the customer service line. But for those people for whom it's important, I think it's a very nice touch. What is seen is important, not what is. It doesn't really necessarily have to be Dave or Jeff or someone else who answers each call. But I'll give you one other example. When I was, and this was before my Amazon days, when I was at DPD and I was running 16 countries, I had a rule that in every country, every member of the top management team had to go out as a courier one day at least per year, usually at peak when everybody needed help. And it achieved two things. First of all, it's what is seen rather than what is. Do you think these guys, including me, was I the most efficient courier? Of course I was not. But when each customer I visited, I said, look, are you happy with the service? What can we do? And a couple of times people said, yeah, actually, I was thinking of calling the CEO. And I said, well, you've got him. Can you imagine the shock and the follow-up and the very positive PR after that? So I think it is let's be very honest, it's a PR exercise. The number of items Dave Clark can personally deal with are going to be limited, but aren't those people wowed? It shows they're important. It shows the company cares. This is one for another topic. I just wish, you know what I'm going to say, I just wish Amazon could come anywhere close on EE, so CX is customer experience, EX. CX is customer experience, EX is employee experience. If they could come anywhere close, they would be unbeatable.
So we're really saying here, Mark, that there can be benefit to taking a personal interest in selected issues and showing that the CEO is engaged, or showing that the delivery executive or whoever it is, because the same applies. If you're in a postal organisation, you might have a complaint specifically about a post office. You might have complaints specifically about delivery. The importance of showing that complaints are taken seriously and that this is going to sound like a little bit of a cliche, but that excellence is important. Does that make sense? This is something that in the postal sector, at least, people might accuse us in the postal sector of not striving for excellence, whereas I think we should strive for excellence. And whether it's at a local level or a delivery centre level or whatever it is, we should be just striving for excellence.
But Ian, isn't it really, again, it's a state of mind. And unfortunately, one of the big challenges, and this is the advantage that a company like Amazon has, like it or hate it, you've got a strong leader. Let's see what the new one's going to be like. But you had a strong leader who really basically was in the driving seat, or in fact, the back driving seat behind everything that happened there. And he had this obsession, which is a pretty good obsession to have, about customer experience. And I think, how many posts really have that obsession rather than paying lip service? How many posts does the Postmaster General, or whatever they're called right now, really have that very personal feeling? And I think that the issue, to be fair to all of these guys and girls, often they're strongly political appointments. There's lots of other issues that have to be dealt with, which mean you can't do the day-to-day that you might like to do. So it's not easy. But I think at the end of the day, however you look at it, in any organization, and let's watch UPS, because that's the one I'm quite interested in, what Carol Tomé does, because I think it's the leader that instills this sort of thinking.
So I'll put a link down below to our Amazon workshop, because if you want us to run an Amazon workshop for you, talking about all of these things and how Amazon delivers excellence in the last mile, it'll be very, very interesting for you. We've run out of time. Marek Krzyzewski, thanks for being part of the Last Mile Profits today.
Thank you, Ian. Thank you, everybody.